You know, if you ever want to get a real pulse on what the global economy is actually doing, one of the best ways is to peek inside one of the industrial giants. So today, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're breaking down the 2024 annual report for Caterpillar. Yeah, the company whose iconic yellow machines are basically a barometer for global growth.
All right, let's just jump right in with the big, flashy number. In 2024, Caterpillar's sales and revenues clocked in at almost $65 billion. And to put that into perspective for you, that one number is bigger than the entire GDP of countries like Croatia or Lithuania. It's a staggering amount of money.
So a massive number like that. Does it mean the engine is running perfectly, or, are there maybe some warning lights flashing on the dashboard? Well, we're about to find out because we're going straight to the source, Caterpillar's very own report.
And that source is what's called a Form 10-K. You can just think of it as the company's official, legally required report card. It's where they have to lay everything out, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And honestly, it's the single best way to see what's really going on inside the business.
Okay, so first up, decoding the yellow giant. Before we dive into all the nitty-gritty numbers, let's just take a quick look under the hood and get a sense of the sheer scale of this operation.
I mean, these guys have been a dominant force for nearly a century. We're talking since 1925. For almost 100 years, when you think of heavy machinery, you're probably picturing one of their yellow machines. They are, without a doubt, a leader in construction and mining gear all across the globe.
The whole company really stands on four massive pillars. First, there's construction industries. That's the stuff most of us see on job sites, the bulldozers, the excavators, you name it. Then you've got resource industries, which makes the gigantic equipment for mining. Energy and transportation is an absolute powerhouse, building everything from huge ship engines to power plant turbines. And finally, there's financial products, which, you guessed it, helps people actually afford to buy all this expensive equipment.
All right, part two, a look at their 2024 report card. Now that we know who they are, let's dig into their performance. How did Caterpillar actually do last year?
So on the surface, you might think things look a little shaky. Their overall sales dipped by 3% compared to the year before. But that single number, it hides a really fascinating story of push and pull that's happening just beneath the surface.
Okay, check out this chart. It's straight from their report, and it really tells the whole story. See how they get from the 2023 revenue on the left to the 2024 number on the right? That big red bar pulling it down is sales volume. Plain and simple. It means they sold fewer machines. But look right next to it. See that green bar pushing it back up? That's labeled price realization, and that's the key.
So here's the dynamic that defined their year. The revenue took a $3.5 billion hit just from selling less equipment. Ouch. But they made back over $1 billion of that because the machines they did sell went for higher prices. So the big takeaway is pretty simple. Volume was down, but the value of each sale was up. And here is where it gets really fascinating. You'd think if sales are down, profits would be down too, right? Well, nope. Look at this. Their operating profit actually went up a tiny bit. The 2024 profit bar is just a little bit taller. How is that even possible? Well, those higher prices, combined with some lower manufacturing costs, were just powerful enough to overcome the fact that they sold fewer machines.
And if we slice up the company by division, we see a really clear split. Both the construction and the resource industries took a pretty big hit, with sales dropping significantly. The absolute star of the show was energy and transportation. It actually grew by 3%, thanks to both selling more and at higher prices. That one division essentially propped up the entire company.
So that was the look back at 2024. But one of the really cool things about a 10K is it also gives us a fascinating look forward into what the company itself expects for 2025. So what's the official word from management? Caution. They're basically telling investors to expect sales in 2025 to be slightly lower once again. They're anticipating that things will continue to be a little soft in their big construction and mining markets. If we look a little deeper, they're expecting construction demand to cool off in North America and stay pretty weak over in Europe. For mining, they see themselves selling fewer big machines, but they're hoping to make up for some of that with more service revenue. But once again, what's the bright spot? You guessed it. Energy and transportation. They see really strong demand there.
And this brings us to what is, I think, the most surprising sentence in the entire report. What's driving all that strength in their energy segment? Well, they say it directly. It's the massive demand for power to support data centers needed for cloud computing and generative AI. Just think about that for a second. One of the biggest growth drivers for this 100-year-old industrial company is the AI revolution. Wild.
Of course, the company brings all of this back down to earth with a heavy dose of reality. This quote from their risk factors section is just a crucial reminder that their fortunes are completely tied to the health of the global economy. To put it simply, if the world economy slows down, so does Caterpillar.
Okay, so last section. Why does all this matter? After digging through all these numbers, let's just zoom out for the big picture takeaway. Why should we care so much about the performance of this one company?
Well, it matters because Caterpillar is what's known as a bellwether. Think of it like a canary in the economic coal mine. When this company is selling more construction equipment, it's a huge clue that global building is on the rise. When it sells more mining trucks, it suggests there's higher demand for raw materials. Their performance is a real-time indicator of the actual physical economy. And it also matters on a massive human scale. At the end of 2024, nearly 113,000 people around the world called Caterpillar their employer. And their reach is just truly staggering. Through this huge dealer network, Caterpillar's products and services are active in 187 different countries. So yeah, its pulse is truly a global one.
Which brings us to our final thought. This 2024 report really shows a company that's navigating a super complex world. It's facing slowing traditional markets, but at the same time, it's finding surprising new growth from things like AI. So the real question isn't just about next year's sales. It's whether this industrial giant can adapt and evolve to power the next 100 years.